This is Marlene with Miami Ghost Chronicles, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Stories of the Supernatural. Wherever you find us, whether it's a video or podcast on your favorite platform, please like and subscribe to us so that you can get notification of when a new show is released. You can also find us on major social media platforms. If you go to miamighostchronicles.com, you can find links to the videos or MP3 files, which you can download and enjoy without commercial interruptions. If you're into classic horror, ghost, and adventure stories, I narrate Nightshade Diary, and you can find links at nightshadediary.com. If scary stories are your bag, and listening to encounters with cryptids, ghosts, dogman, and other weird creatures sends a shiver up your spine, then go to supernaturalstorytime.com for links to our weekly podcasts. Noteworthy news about the paranormal world, true crime, conspiracy stories, and anything that is just plain weird can be found at eerie.news or visit the Stranger Than Fiction Stories tab at miamighostchronicles.com. Please subscribe to my newsletter on Substack. Just go to mppellicer.com for a link. I want to thank you for being part of my audience, and I think you are all wonderful. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good? I'm doing good. Yeah. I want to do my little weather update. It's been cold, but since I'm in North Florida, I don't get the snow, but it's been cold. And, me and cold, it's like we have a love-hate relationship. It's my friend in the summer because I want it, and then, that kind of deal. And here we're going into the beginning of the year. We've got, as a matter of fact, people were asking me, and I want to repeat it again. I am going to do the Mardi Gras. I'm hoping to do a live stream with Mardi Gras. Either way, I am going to produce a show for Mardi Gras. All right. And considering, because I've done the background of Mardi Gras and all that, it just so happens that this year Mardi Gras falls on February the 13th, Tuesday, February the 13th. And everybody thinks, oh, Friday the 13th, that's the day, the bad luck day. Well, among Hispanics, believe it or not, it's Tuesday, February the 13th, which is considered a bad luck day. So that's what this year's Mardi Gras. I mean, Henry's going to be here. He's going to give his weird stories from up the east, northeast, New York, New Jersey, all his ghost stories and weird situations. And I'll be bringing in all this weird stuff that happened around February 13th, how it became the connotation with being in a lucky number or date, to the point that, there were people that they wouldn't transact business, forget anything, like getting married or anything like that. And how did we get there into this superstition? All right. So that's, yes, Mardi Gras show is going to happen. But anyway, let's get on to the good part. And the good part is, who is the guest tonight? This gentleman has been here before at Stories of the Supernatural. His name is Barry Strohm. He was born near Hershey, Pennsylvania, but currently resides in Park City, Utah with Connie, his wife of 50 years. He graduated from Lehigh University with a business management degree and obtained a civil engineering license. What started as a casual interest in paranormal photography became an obsession as the author was led along the path of learning about the afterlife and learned of his unique ability to communicate with spirits on the other side of the life veil. He is currently the author of 10 books regarding all aspects of the afterlife, spirit communication, and even aliens. And I'm going to put a link not only to his site, but also where I believe you can purchase all his titles there. He is currently the host of Channeling History on the Para X Radio Network and does a podcast on Wednesdays, a weekly message from Jesus and others. Eternity Speaks on Sunday mornings. Help me welcome him. How are you doing today, Barry?
I am doing great. Wish I had a little bit of that warmth down in Florida.
Yeah, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I was telling you earlier about my grandson. He lives on a cottage on my property, but he laughs because I go out there and I have a hoodie pulled over and he calls me his drug dealer because he goes, the first time I go out there, like in the dark, one time I was going to take him something he didn't could. He goes, you look like a drug dealer with that hood over your, and it's because, that's me. Like, hey, wait a minute. I heard you can lose warmth from the top of your head. So I put on a hoodie. The only thing is that I put on, those forehead flashlights that hunters use. Because I live out here and I'm on acreage and it's really, really dark. There's hardly any ambient, There's no street lights out here. So, and I have a really huge tree. So it gets dark, bottom line. So,
Marlene, you're telling me about losing heat on top of my head.
okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Okay. Yeah, you should know all about that. All right. Maybe later on you'll give me some tips. But yeah, no, that's me. That's me. Like I've
the
never
tip
been
is
really.
the tip is wear a cap.
No, let me tell you, I usually, it gets to this point where I don't know. When I was living in South Florida, I never really thought of it. It never became that cold. But out here, especially like when you go, as soon as the sun dips, the temperatures go down with it. And whenever I have to go outdoors after sunset, it's like, nah, you know what? I even have that hoodie next to my door, and it's like now it's like the running joke. It's my drug dealer hoodie because that's what I look like. But yeah, anyway, you were telling me, Barry, that you've now authored 10 books. When was the last one released?
About 6 months ago.
Okay, and what was the theme of that book?
The theme of it is we were channeling archangels.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we channeled
Okay.
20 different archangels. And the book contains the words of all the channelings that we did with them. It's
Okay.
it's
Because
interesting.
people are familiar with the like Michael and Gabriel and Raziel, but I mean, I'm sure there's got to be archangels there that people are just going to say, "Who?
Yeah,
Who?"
well, the whole story of archangels.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the ancients did not know which spirits they were talking to when they're talking to angels.
Okay.
So there's literally 30, 40 archangels out there, plus all the
Okay.
helpers and everything. But we've talked to 20 different ones. And I
Okay.
just thought people really don't understand how many there are, or what they do. And I mean, we even talked to there's an archangel called Orion, and he
Really?
deals with cosmic energies from other planets.
Okay.
Uh,
That's
As
interesting.
Azrael, angel of death, the one that helps your soul pass into heaven when you die. But
Okay.
no, we took it's a fairly big book too. It's about 70,000 words, but
That is.
it's strictly the words of the archangels. I write a
Let me ask
little
you, did you reach out to them or did they come to you first for this communication, Barry?
uh combination.
All right.
I've got I got about 570 videos on YouTube.
Okay.
So from our different channelings, we do that. Right now, we're doing 3 different shows, so you can accumulate a lot of
Sure.
a
Yeah.
lot of videos when you're doing that. But
Okay.
we started doing a show on Sunday mornings, a spiritual show. Um,
Okay.
we simply call it Sunday sermon. But we started having some of these archangels come on to give the messages on Sunday morning.
Wow.
And once we started really talking to them, we started with Gabriel and
Mm-hmm.
Raphael and Michael and all the ones everybody knows.
Right.
But all of a sudden, we started reading. They started telling us about other angels. So
Okay.
we started bringing the other angels that nobody heard about up on the show. Um, there's an angel called Sandolphin, which
Really.
deals basically with music.
And you know what? And I've always thought that all the angel names would end with EL, like L.
No,
And
but
then from what you're telling me, that's not the case then.
no, absolutely not, because the ancients, that means of God, that ending.
Okay.
So
All right.
the angels, the ancients realized that these energies were God's energies. So naturally, when they would put a name to them, they would end it in IEL, and it would be of God.
Of
So
God.
like it
I
would be
understand.
Michael, Michael of God.
Right.
But they didn't. But they would be talking to different energies and not realize it. So
Okay.
throughout history, they put different names. Like Michael's been referred to by many, many different names through history because they don't, people just basically don't see the angels.
Right.
So,
Exactly. The only reference I think you would see is, you get some, I don't know, I guess some visitations, but that
Yeah, but when an angel visits, they generally visit you in human form.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're usually in a human form.
yeah. I mean, we've all had interactions with angels we didn't realize were angels.
Let me ask you, do you think from your dialogue with them or your experience with them, because some of the, and this might be right or wrong, I don't know, that angels, it's only they can help you only if you ask for their help.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Okay.
You have a life plan when you come back.
All right.
All humans lay this life plan out, and the angels will help influence you to make
Mm,
decisions to follow that life plan.
okay.
So if you specifically ask for an angel in prayer, they'll try to help you as best they can,
Okay.
but they're always going to just leave it up to your free will. Because
Exactly.
the whole idea of human life is you make your decisions how you want to live it. And they will try to guide you to stay as close to this life plan as you can, but you're making the decisions.
Right.
You can,
Ultimately, yeah.
I mean, when you, and it's quite possible that you pray to the wrong angel because,
I can see that. Yeah.
I mean, you might think that Gabriel is handling this situation, but really it's another one. So they'll pass you on to the right angel and hopefully they'll try to influence you.
Like they don't get, I guess they don't get they don't, it doesn't matter to them if you're like calling him Gabriel and he's like, nah, it's not Gabriel, but okay,
Hey,
whatever.
on other planets, they got different names. So
Right. Yeah. So it's like,
you
all right, all right, all right.
you know, it's
You
just
know,
it's
no
what
ego.
no, it's what the humans thought of to call them. And I mean, it's a mess because you got all these different angels, and humans think there's only like three or four of them because
Right.
those are the only ones that have been mentioned in the Bible.
Right. They were popularized. Exactly.
Yeah, but actually, the ancients were dealing with 20, 30 different archangels or their helpers. So it's
And do they let me, and I guess that was my question. Like, how much are they permitted to help you? I guess is my question. Is it only influence, or you hear all these stories about guardian angels or angels that come and they, how can I say it? They protect you from, let's say, getting hurt in a really bad car accident. How much are they really allowed to do?
as long as all right, let's say this. Your life plan may have every life plan has a terminal time where you're going to
Right.
pass.
Yes.
So if that accident is leading to your terminal time, they can't help you.
Hmm.
But it might be that there is an incident taking place that wasn't scheduled. For instance, you may be headed for an accident. That's why quite often people hear in their heads information
Hmm.
like stop or something, and they don't
Yes.
have this accident. So they will if they'll help you follow what needs to be followed for your life plan.
So
Sometimes they can help,
right.
sometimes it can't.
So, and I'm gonna give for instance, like you said, if it's not, they could try to influence you, like, don't go down that road. Not that you're gonna die, but that you're gonna get really severely hurt.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
And if you listen to that, like, and you hear a lot of people talk about it, I got this gut feeling, or this, even the voice that said, don't go down that road, whatever.
Yep.
But they can't alternate if your fate is that day, let's say that you're supposed to die. They
Yes.
just hope that, hey, don't go down there because
Yeah. If
exactly.
it's your time of death, nobody's going to help you because
Right.
that's your time to go back. And they want you to go back so that you can kind of recharge and find out what you've done wrong with your life and what you haven't. So, I mean, I mean, in the challenge we do with Jesus, he tells us all the time that he has intentionally given humans a short lifespan because they're a young culture and they make so many mistakes. So he said, think of it like this. If you had a truly evil person and he was to live for 400 years,
Oh,
how
yeah, I
much
should think
damage
about
he could do in that time.
yeah, that
So
you're right, I
intentionally,
never thought of it that way.
yeah. So intentionally, humans are given short lifetimes in comparison with the creatures on the other planets. I mean, when I was writing the Alien book, we were
Okay.
channeling with Mu, and Mu lived almost 900 of our years because his
Okay.
planet was under control. They knew how to get along. They didn't have evil on it, so they have long
You know
life
what's really
plans.
funny? Some of those really evil people, I hate to say it historically, somehow or other, the really evil ones get to live a long time. They die sometimes of old age.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, you see, they don't come into this life with evil in their life plan.
Right.
Quite often, you'll have a person will have a normal life of say 70, 80 years in his life plan, but his life plan says he's supposed to come back and do good.
Okay.
Well, when he comes back and he starts making this money and greed and everything takes over,
Mhm.
and he wants power and everything changes, and he goes totally against his life plan with his free
Okay.
will, but that life plan still gives him so many years to live.
No matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to shorten his life plan just because he turned evil, because now he's making bad decisions. And they're going to let
Right.
him make those bad decisions so it can be reflected in his karma and in his future life plans.
And this would work, I imagine, the opposite, where you see people that are really good people that die early. And like you said, this was their, if you want to call it the divine order of their life, where they, let's say they were supposed to die at the age of 30, even if they were a good person, that's no guarantee that it's going to give you a
Right.
long life per se.
Right. Now that I mean, God can create, has miracles.
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, he did 100% medical miracle on me about 5 years ago.
What happened?
I was back in Pennsylvania
Mhm.
watching television, watching a football game, and I started having a heart attack.
Oh,
And I'd had a quad bypass about 3 years before, so I knew the symptoms.
okay.
Went in, and yes, had quite a bit of heart damage. They showed me the actual heart damage on the monitor, and they said, "We gotta get you in, your heart it's not getting oxygen," all this stuff.
Right.
And they rushed me in, and I'm laying waiting to go into surgery, and I've lain there with my eyes closed, and I see things with my eyes closed, like
I understand.
bizarre stuff. So anyway, I'm seeing this little figure out in front, and it's moving, and it's moving, and it's coming closer. And all of a sudden, realize that I'm seeing an angel coming.
Okay.
This angel comes up right in front of me and flies off. So my wife Connie was sitting there, and I said, "Look, I just had a sign. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it." So they go in and they do this, all the catheterization. They check everything out, and they wake me up. And I said, "Okay, guys, how many catheters did we do, or what happened?" And they said, "Nothing. We couldn't find any heart damage."
Wow.
I said, "What do you mean you can't find any heart damage? You showed it to me on the monitor before we did this." He said, "Look, I know we checked everything out. All the connections from your bypass is fine. Your heart is healthy. You have no heart damage. We can't explain it. Don't know." So when we started, let me back up just 1 second here so you get a little more information on this. When Jesus started coming through for us, I couldn't believe it, and I wasn't convinced. So he said, "I'll give you the ability to heal others," and he gave me this special prayer, and
Okay.
I've healed quite a few people through the years with this prayer. So anyway, I'm back in recovery, and I'm laying there, and in my head, I hear just as clear as can be, "If I can have you heal others, I can heal you as well." So he performed 100% provable medical miracle because I still hadn't written enough books for him.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
So, I
All
like,
right.
I had all this stuff to do yet,
You
so
better find out how many books he expects and hold out on that last one, all right?
well, they said 11 when we started.
Oh, well, man, I guess, all right, it's gonna be for a
So
while then.
I'm working on 11 right now, so we'll see.
Oh, you
But,
make it a War and Peace version,
yeah,
very low.
But
But
there's an example of where they pushed the terminal date back because I
okay,
still had more things to do, and
right.
they had invested all this time and energy in me learning how to channel them. So
It's like, oh man, forget it. We have to start from scratch with somebody else. No, 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 no. Let's keep them
yeah, it's a
around.
lot easier just to push this one along for a few more
Yeah.
years.
Well, you know what? It's and that's really and when all this was going on, Barry, did your wife does your wife also get messages or is it just you?
No, I'm basically the one who gets the messages. She
Okay.
supports everything we do, and sh
Okay.
but I'm basically the one that's
All right. And the reason why I was wondering is like when you were going through this, I was thinking, was she getting any messages telling her she's gonna be okay or something like that?
no, she's starting to get messages on her own now. She's starting to
Really?
hear some stuff, and she'll get a message, and then she'll ask me whether it was right or not. I'll say, "Oh yeah, that's what they
Okay.
said." So
Okay.
she's moving along with it too.
So let me ask you, do you when you're gonna start when you're thinking of the next book, do you gotta get messages? This is what we want the book to be about?
Yes,
All right.
yeah. We had the eighth book was a summation of the messages that Jesus gave us on our Wednesday show.
Okay.
So we did, I think like 40 messages that he did in the eighth book.
Okay.
So now we're going to do volume two of that. So we're going to do another probably 40 messages in book 11.
Let me ask you, Barry, because I'm seeing that book over your shoulder, Aliens Among Us.
Yes.
And sometimes people put these two things in two different camps.
Uh,
Aliens, over here, UFOs, and over here, anything having to do with angels, Jesus.
yeah.
Are they totally separate or
No, they're similar. The aliens have got the same soul energies the humans have.
okay?
And since they have that same soul energy, I can channel aliens as well as I can channel with souls that were human energies.
Okay.
And keep in mind, I'll give you a little more background on this.
All right.
Human energies have been around since creation. Okay,
Okay.
billions billions of years ago, our energies have been around. Heaven's been around. He created what we refer to as heaven, which is really just a simple another dimension.
Okay.
And these energies have been around for all this time. Energies have been on Earth for about 300,000 years.
All right.
So the question is, where were those soul energies before humans walked the Earth?
Okay.
Well, the answer is they were on other planets.
All right. I was gonna say good question.
So
Because the universe predates Earth, so
exactly. So and our energies were around for all these millions of years before he decides to try to create humans on the planet Earth. So all of these energies have been on other planets. We've all been aliens in other lives.
let me ask you, what is the interest that aliens or extraterrestrials have with us now?
Well, they're trying to guide us. They're trying to help us.
Okay.
It, the human culture. There's going to be a time on Earth
Mm-hmm.
that Earth cannot support human life.
Okay.
Happens on every planet. Every sun dies. Every planet dies.
Sure.
And so there's going to be a time that if humans want to exist, they're going to have to travel to another
Right. Yeah.
planet.
Like exactly. Every planet is finite. Sooner or later, there's something that happens where, like you said, the sun that it goes nova. That's it.
Yeah.
So
So humans have got to advance in their knowledge that they can travel the stars like all the other beings on other planets do. So, I mean, aliens have been visiting here since long before the dinosaurs.
okay.
And
Are they restrained also? Though I don't know. I'm going to use Star Trek. The Prime Directive, as in you can supervise, but you really can't.
They have limitations.
Interfere? How's that?
Well,
Too much?
there are rules.
Okay.
There are rules in our galaxy. There's a governing committee of all the highly intelligent civilizations. And when an alien comes to this planet, they're under strict rules. Now the rules have changed recently. I mean, 100 years ago, they had a lot more abilities to study humans.
Okay.
And that's why they do these abductions.
Okay.
They'll test the humans, they'll try to give them information, they'll try to help them. And I mean, sometimes it's very scary because there's so many different types of alien forms. And it's just simply a human has never seen any of these forms.
And
Now,
well, this is
now
the thing.
I've seen a real alien.
What have you seen? Is it like the typical
It was
gray or what?
It was a reptilian, short nose, stood about 7 feet.
Short? Or short
No,
nose? I'm
about
sorry.
7. Yeah, it had a short reptilian nose.
Okay.
And well, I'll tell you the story, and then you'll know
Yes.
that
Yes.
they truly exist. We were in Pennsylvania in the apartment, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I looked over, and I saw this form. Because we have cats and night lights, and we spend a lot of time traveling to the bathroom at night. So
Mm-hmm.
we had light in our bedroom, so we can see when
Okay.
we don't kill ourselves on the cats. So, but I looked over. I sat up and I looked over and I saw this thing. I thought I cleared. I mean, I woke right up. I'll say that for it.
That's not a cat.
No, that's not a cat. And I saw this thing standing there, and I shook my head and I said, looked at it again, and this thing, it's standing there, and it looks at me, and I could see him smile.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Well, but here's the key. So as soon as he does this, he knocks me back out.
Okay.
And I'm back asleep. So I wake up the next morning, and I told Connie, well, Connie's been abducted. So I thought,
Okay.
I thought there was another abduction for her.
Uh-huh.
So I told her, I said, you may have gone for another trip last night because I saw this form. But I absolutely did not mention the fact that it smiled at me. That was really pushing it. It's bad enough
Okay.
to be an alien standing by your bed, but it doesn't smile.
Yeah.
So when we learned board channeling, we were taught by 2 people in Salt Lake City. And that's another long story. But
Okay.
our friends in Salt Lake, they're the ones that taught us the board channeling part. And it was from the board channeling that I expanded that I could do this thing mentally.
Okay.
So I called them in Salt Lake and I said, do you care if we get on Skype tonight? I have a question I want to ask you. And they said, fine. So that evening, we're in Pennsylvania, they're in Salt Lake City. And we get them on Skype. And I was writing the alien books at the time this happened. So I said, can you get Moo out there? Because I want to ask a question that Moo has to answer for me. So they say, okay, he's here. What's your question? And my question was, I said, Moo, did I see an alien last night? Now keep in mind the people in Salt Lake knew nothing, zero,
Okay.
about what happened. Moo replies, yes. And did you see him smile at you?
Oh, wow.
In Salt Lake.
Okay.
So
And
there
you were
you
like,
go. That's pretty good proof.
but let me tell you something. I'm so well, I guess he had to put you back to sleep because I wouldn't have shut my eyes again maybe for the next 3 days.
Well, yeah, probably.
I'd see.
Well, they were testing me. They wanted to know if
I was going to ask you, what was the purpose? Would you think that you saw it?
They were testing me to see if I feared them. Because they were testing to see how much information they could give me for the books.
Oh, okay.
And whether I had truly accepted. Because they had told me that they weren't here to hurt humans. They were here to help.
So,
And
in other
I
words, because I've
looked
heard
at
of
them.
reptilians being like kind of aggressive towards humans.
Well, seemingly so, yes, to humans,
Okay.
but to the reptilians, no. I mean, that's just the way they are.
Okay. All right. It's like, yeah,
But
it's all in
no,
the perspective, but yeah,
yeah, no. But I looked at them with no fear. I mean, it was bizarre.
sure. I bet. So you only saw it that one time and that was it?
Uh, I had an alien drone follow me on the battlefield one time.
Really?
Um,
How's that?
it's I was taking pictures for the first book, Connie and History of the Battle of Gettysburg,
Mm-hmm.
and I was out taking pictures, and I was driving Connie's little convertible, and I had the top down, and I was just shooting, so I wasn't too lazy to get out of the car. I was just taking random pictures, and there weren't many people on the field that night, and I took this picture and I looked, and it was like this light bar was out here. I could, the cameras were digital, so I could see all the back screens.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was doing this, I had a light bar with 3 different cameras set
Okay.
differently, different, everything was different, but I was always trying to get the same image on multiple cameras as proof. So once I saw this thing, I started shooting the 3 cameras, and this thing was showing up on all 3 cameras. It was
Okay.
changing position, it was moving, it was doing a bunch of things.
Wow.
But it was always, but yeah, I was shooting a lot of frames at this thing now. I
Okay.
started, and I'm out here and it's dark, and I'm thinking, this might not be the best thing in the world. Because-
Just in case.
Mhm. And this was all before I wrote the alien book and we were talking to Moo and
Right,
everything.
right. That's what I was gonna say. Well, this is when you had less information under your belt.
Yeah. So anyway, I started driving, but I still keep taking pictures. And I wind up with over 40 frames of this thing on 3 cameras. So there's no doubt that this existed.
Uh-huh.
So I got back, and we started. I went through all the images, decided which ones were the good ones, like you would when you're doing a ghost photography.
Right.
So next challenge session we do, I said, "What was this? What did I take a picture of out there?" And the guide says it was an alien drone. And I said, "Well, what was it doing?" And he said, "It was obviously following you." And I said, "Well, why was it doing that?" And they said, "Well, you wanted to see aliens, don't you?" So,
Yeah, it's like one of those things, be careful what you ask for kind of deal.
yeah, really. So, but that's probably the other strongest interaction I've had with them. I have other pictures of movements and stuff, but those would have been the 2 closest things that I had with them.
Okay. That the drone thing I could handle. The thing with the 7 foot, no, that's I think I'd be like, okay, forget it. It's like we're cutting this off right now.
Well,
Let
well,
me
hey, there's a bright spot there
okay.
because when we were channeling Moo, I said, "Well, how many different forms roughly do we have?" And he says, "Oh, there's probably 300 different types of aliens in the galaxy."
Wow.
And then, are you familiar with? You're familiar with the Nazca lines down in Peru,
Yes, of course. Yes, in Peru. Yes.
the spider shape.
Yes.
So one night I asked Moo, I said, "Well, I did a chapter in one of the books on the Nazca lines." So when I asked Moo, I said, "Well, Moo, what was the spider shape that they did down there?" And he said, "Oh, that was the form of aliens that was helping them."
And
And I said,
it's really funny. All these archaeologists and the anthropologists have always been racking their heads trying to figure out
"Yeah, well,
why those symbols.
all you gotta do is ask."
You know what? Recently they discovered a new one because now with these different the overhead shots coming
Uh-huh.
from the satellites, they're able to make out things. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, that's my grandson. But I have emergency bypass, so of course he needs to call me. They've discovered ones that, because of the growth they weren't able to see, but now because of the satellite imagery, they've discovered some new Nazca lines. But yeah, they've always wondered, number one, why go through the trouble and the size? And of course, the thought has always been it's only something that you could see from an aerial view.
Yeah.
But never that version of why the spider thing.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
my God. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking of those movies of arachnophobia and all that other stuff.
Well,
Or eight-legged freaks.
Well, then I asked him, I said, well, how tall were these spider people?
Yeah.
He said they stood about 7 feet.
Oh my God. You know what that reminds me of when you say that? I've heard of people describing extraterrestrials that were similar to praying mantis.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of that.
Sure, there's mantis people.
See, I could people saying, all right, when extraterrestrials start looking like insects, it's like, let's face it, we're like, I guess every species likes to, I want to feel like I'm in with my people.
Yeah, they think we're the weird ones,
Oh, of course. Of course. No, obviously, you feel more comfortable when you hear about these descriptions of extraterrestrial that are humanoid, kind of.
Yeah,
and so once when they start going into insect life, that you're
that
like,
whole flat mountain where the Nazca lines are, that was excavated flat. That was a mountain. That was not naturally occurring.
You know what? And when we start talking about the heights, that all these locations, in Peru and the Andes and all these places, they're thousands of feet in the air. That that as a matter of fact, I believe that the natives would have to chew coca leaves in order to work up there. And I'm thinking, how much work they would have had to do all that work of these lines?
Oh, they couldn't have. They couldn't have. They had to have the elevation perspectives to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But still, and I'm thinking to myself, usually civilizations use their manpower and the danger of it for something that they feel they must do. So it's like, then you ask yourself, why would they do that? It's only something that could be seen from a great height overhead.
Yeah, the exception is, well, you got to see it from height, but there's a form on the side hill that is one that looks a lot like an alien or an astronaut.
Yes, I've seen that one.
Yeah, I asked them how they did that, and they said, well, we were testing our weapons. They had laser guns on, so they carved that one on the side hill with their lasers.
Let me tell you something. Yeah, I'm sure those natives were impressed. These indigenous tribes have been like, what?
Yeah, but they realized that they were there to help them, and that's part of why they did this whole thing.
You mentioned earlier when we started, Barry, before we started to record, that maybe we could do some type of channeling. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah.
All right.
Who would you like to talk to?
Oh.
You want to talk to an angel? You want to talk to we have another Moo isn't with us anymore. He's on another mission, but we do have another alien we've been channeling.
Okay. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
All right, that's well, we're talking about aliens. Let's see if Fred's available.
Okay.
Hello, Marlene. How are you? I have been standing behind you since we started the show, but you haven't been able to see me.
Okay.
We figured that you would wind up talking with aliens. And I think that with what is going on, it is good that we are invited to as many public places as possible. So do you have a question you'd like to ask?
What will 2024 be overall good or bad for humans?
For
for
some,
Earth. How's that?
for some it will be good, and for some it will be bad. There are many people that will suffer because of your idiotic wars that are taking place. But there will be many that will be unaffected by it.
Okay, well, I guess I'll ask, but will there be any nuclear wars?
That is still undecided. We are doing all we can to try to assure that it does not take place. But there are individuals with free will and great power that have no conscience. And it is possible that nuclear weapons could be used in the near future.
Hmm. Uh, and well, so is it? What could we do? Just pray for the person that doesn't want war? Pray, or just? I mean,
The
sometimes we feel helpless.
many people wish that prayer could stop war. But you see, God gave humans free will, and how they use it is part of their test.
Okay.
God is obviously aware of all things. He will decide if he should alter free will plans. He wants humans to survive, and he has sent us to Earth for many years to assist. Humans must learn to coexist. You see, they cannot advance without understanding that they must absolutely get along with others. How God chooses to teach humans this lesson is yet to be seen.
And I guess my question is that I want to say the majority of humans really have no, or we feel we have no power over a decision to use something, let's say, as extreme as nuclear weapons, which is why I think a lot of humans feel like they're being taken in a direction, even if you personally would not want this, which is, I think, where most humans don't want to end their lives or this planet.
You are correct in that, because most humans do not understand the fact that a human life is like a blink in the eye of your everlasting soul life. You see, the human life is so short in comparison that for humans, they fear death. Yet your day of passing is the best day of your life, because you're returning to the dimension you refer to as heaven. And that dimension is so magnificent in comparison with the dimension in which humans live. So you see, there have been many times where great numbers of humans have died, but they simply return to heaven and begin a new life. So death is not the end, but the beginning. So if humans make the decision that they will no longer exist, the soul still does.
Well, I think that, most humans, sometimes it's not even for themselves, it's for their offsprings. Besides, that they want to, I think most persons understand that life is finite. It, some live to be older, others not, but you always have hopes for, if not your own direct descendants, other humans around you that you care for. And the question of survival is not just on a selfish basis, but that that you see the good part of humans. In other words, you have faith in humanity. We and I think those are the humans that don't want something like war to occur. Even if it's not nuclear, how's that? No wars.
That is a state that humans absolutely must obtain. Coexistence is vital on all levels of human life. For that, humans must learn to love and not to hate. So there are many, many lessons humans must still learn. And many cultures have taken their own futures by not learning those lessons. Many cultures have failed through the ages on many different planets. It is only those that learn love and coexistence that are still in existence.
But again, we come back to collectively we must learn, but then the ones that haven't learned drag along the ones that have, because they exist in a position of power where they can do that. So, and that is the
Humans
problem.
must learn that individuals must be controlled. If humans allow individuals to obtain those great powers, then they will be influenced by the decisions of the few.
Yes. Yes, unfortunately, yes. And technology allows them to have far-reaching effects just by their own decision. By maybe a decision of a group of people, technology allows the effects to be far-reaching. So
That is correct. But generally, individuals of great power have no understanding of God or of the dimension of heaven. And therefore, they see death as the end of their lives. And the thought of self-preservation often influences them to not make truly disastrous decisions. As
so
long
they
as
I'm
long as
sorry.
those in power understand that they too will suffer death and they believe it is the end, then that has a great influence on how they make their decisions.
Unfortunate but true. It is. It is.
But
And
death,
there's
but
some
death, death for them is the deterrent because they do not know what lies ahead.
or sometimes they think, like you said, that there is nothing beyond this life. That
Many
when it's
people,
over, it's over.
many people have no belief in God, and to them, death is finite. It is only to those that understand the truth, that understand that life is everlasting.
Yes, I believe that. That I do believe. But I'm not going to say all powerful people, but it almost has it's become uh how's this like a psychopathic um profile of personalities that do gain power. Sometimes that's the way exactly how they think, and their decisions affect the rest of us, and sometimes there's nothing we can do about it.
That is correct. But those that truly believe understand that death is not the end or the final chapter. In a worst case scenario, humans' souls simply move into the dimension of heaven. And as they look back, they will understand that the life form that they chose was incapable of learning the decisions and the words that God told them.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like always hope for the best.
That is why God created prayer.
Yes. Yes. What is life without hope?
Indeed. So I'm going to leave you now. I
Okay.
hope that my answers may have given you some clarity.
Yes, it has.
So thank you for allowing me to speak today.
You're welcome.
Okay. There you go.
Wow. Barry, let me ask you, do they hang out with you after that you finish channeling, or do they just
No,
go away somewhere?
no, it'll depend. Whenever we do the challenge, we always talk to them before the shows and afterwards, and
Mm-hmm.
thank them. And
Okay.
yeah, we just did on our channeling history show. We just did a 3-part series of roundtable discussions of Scalia, Ginsburg, and O'Connor.
What? Are you kidding?
No, we did. We did it for 3 hours now. We
Okay.
finished the series Sunday night, but we asked the three of them the same question, and
Which
each
was?
of them would answer the same question.
Right, according to their what.
Incredibly interesting. I had an attorney friend that's been listening to it,
Mm-hmm.
and he's blown. He said he's blown away by it because he knows that I know nothing of what they're talking about.
Okay.
And it was so interesting. And he said every time they'd try to use a technical term, I'd screw it up because I couldn't pronounce it.
Okay. Right.
But it's really interesting to hear the three of them speak about a bunch of different subjects like that. We did Roe v. Wade, bunch of things.
But they must have been like, were they like, oh my God, they're doing okay, like, or oh my God, what have they done?
It was interesting.
Right. Well, you know what? It's one of those that's one thing about that we the moment we live in always seems to be the most precarious or the most urgent. But then if you look at history, humanity, as had it just so happens that that's the moment you exist in, where everything is prescient and
Hey, man has learned nothing for 2,000 years. If you look at the basics, you'll see that everything is basically the same as it was when Jesus walked the earth, except now they got atom bombs.
let me tell you. Well, that's I want to say, even though, I mean, you think about once when they had, pestilence, well, you can't help that. And, when they had the hordes of invading armies and, a lot of people lost their lives, but
Hey, Genghis Khan
technology,
killed millions.
Yes, yes, he did.
So
Yeah,
it really doesn't change.
right.
The
It was
weapon,
just
all the changes are the weapons.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. But how's this?
Hmm.
Even when Genghis Khan was, was marauding and conquering Asia and whatever Europe or whatever, you didn't worry about the Earth coming to an end. How's that? It was like,
Well, but for all the people that he
oh
killed,
no,
it
absolutely
did.
no, heck no. With those people there, no. It was like, yeah, no. To them, it was equivalent to the end of the world kind of deal. And if you think about like the times during the Black Death and and things like
Yeah,
that, where people are dropping left and right, it did seem like the end of the world because every it in the basically that was striking down all ages, all social economic classes. So I could see where people would thought, well, this is kind of be the end of it all.
yeah, and it was slower, but it's actually like the use of a nuclear weapon.
Yeah. Well, and also I don't think at that point anybody living in those times would ever think of a human having the power to end the world. How's that? To like annihilate the planet. It wasn't like in
No,
your
no, you're correct. But the aliens have influenced some of our nuclear tests. For instance, the H bomb thing that
yeah.
almost set off a reaction that ended the world when they tested the H bomb,
Wow.
and they did step in then and make sure
Let
nothing.
me tell you something. You still even you hear of different countries that test these bombs, but underground. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not good. This is
No,
not good.
no, it's not. But
This could end badly. This is like, oh, we didn't think that was going to happen.
it's no, especially like with an idiot like in North Korea.
Yes, exactly. That you
Yeah,
hear that they test bombs underground. I'm thinking, this is maybe something didn't happen the first 3 times you did it, but that doesn't mean, you know,
no,
you
if they shifted one of the tectonic plates
exactly
and set
right.
off volcanic action,
Yeah, you get a tsunami. I mean, it's all downhill from there, but exactly,
yeah, but
exactly. And
the advice they give is that it doesn't really help to worry about things over which you have absolutely no control.
oh,
But if you start from the beginning, and if everybody would start showing love for others and change the lives, if you teach the young to love and to
yes,
coexist and to get along, within 3 generations, everything changes in the world.
yes, exactly,
The trick is getting
exactly.
everyone to teach that lesson.
I was gonna say, yeah, but
Mm,
that's sometimes that's exact. And coming back to what you said, what you have control over,
mhm.
in some cases, you do not have control over that. All
No,
right,
you're
as
you're
far as
you're correct, but you have control over influence. Like everyone in our country, we elect our politicians.
yes,
If we send politicians that are crap to Washington
oh,
and that don't truly understand,
they understand, they just don't care. I think.
yeah, I mean, but you've got to push for things,
Yes,
like limits, term limits.
yeah, oh,
It
absolutely,
you got to have, but I mean, we still send people that are idiots term
yes,
after term.
yes.
It's as
Well,
long as we do that, we're going to pay the price.
I think honestly, I think a lot of people until recently weren't really even paying attention. They
No, I think
weren't. They were just going through the motions, and it was like, oh, it was easier to trust or whatever, not dwell. It was like, oh, whatever. I gotta whatever I'm doing.
well, maybe this is God's way of getting your attention.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, heck yeah. And I think a lot of people are like, hello,
Yeah,
this has
this
got
got to
far-reaching
change.
effects.
Yeah, got to
Yes.
change.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people now are um how's that trickle down effect? Well, the trickle is on us right now,
Well,
and we're realizing.
the overriding message that we get in basically any of the shows is
Mm-hmm.
don't do anything to anyone else you don't want done to yourself.
Yeah,
The
well,
golden rule. If you
of
just
course.
simply, if all of your actions follow that one simple command, then things will get better.
Exactly, exactly. But and then we come to the rub. How many
Indeed.
people, you know, do that or exist like that or think of that, or live their lives that way?
Well, but
Because
that,
I think it's not the problem of. I think the human condition is that you can get mad and angry and upset because we are what we are. It's just what do you do with that anger where you say and you stop and think about it, what you just said,
yeah,
and
if
you
you
have
don't want people to show anger towards you, don't show anger towards them. Walk
yeah, you
away.
get
Yeah.
over it or you put it in perspective. You go,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is not really that. It's not that serious, or
Yeah.
you know.
Like we've had a couple messages on our on the Wednesday show from Jesus. And he
Okay,
said, I hear prayers all the time. Father, forgive me. Forgive me for this. Forgive me for that. But those individuals are not willing to forgive others themselves.
right.
So why would they waste their time asking me for forgiveness if they're not willing to forgive?
And you know what? A lot of people, that's one of the things. But see, and this is the thing though, Barry. Forgiveness though is something you can't fake. You can't say I forgive this person if you really haven't forgiven them.
That's correct.
How's that?
That's
Because
correct.
a lot of people think, oh, you could say it because whatever, for whatever reason, because you're religious, that tells you, Catholic,
Hmm.
whatever. What. But if you really don't feel it in your heart, it's like,
That's
who cares what
correct.
you're saying if you really don't feel it? And
If
b
it-
and by the
if
way, I sometimes think that for it to be profound and real, it sometimes takes depending on what it is, all right? I'm not talking about somebody cut you off, I'm talking about something more serious. It might take a while for you to get there, to the forgiveness, real forgiveness, how's that?
oh yeah,
To real
it,
like, "Hey, you
it
know
may
what?"
take a lifetime.
Might take a lifetime, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
But I thought that was a very interesting comment that he's made several times. Is why would you ask me for forgiveness
If you
if
can't.
if you cannot forgive yourself?
And that you know what? That well, and another what you just said is self-forgiveness also counts for a lot.
That's right.
If you
Yeah.
can't forgive yourself for anything you might have done,
Hey,
some people
well, another
you
thing that he tells us is that everybody is expected to make mistakes.
yeah.
You come in as a baby with no knowledge and you have to learn.
Mhm.
And everyone makes mistakes, but it's how you respond to those mistakes that count.
Sure.
And
Of course, like what exact well, which is kinda like what you were saying, that's what we're here for, right?
yeah, you're here to learn.
Mhm.
He says, I could send you in with all the knowledge in the world when you're born, but then you would learn nothing.
Oh. It'd be like the cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Got all the answers. Got all the answers to the test before you get there.
Hmm.
But, yeah, I think that sometimes people, they kinda, like, come down on the way we are as humans because either we're tempted or we do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing or make a mistake. Let me tell you something, I think self-forgiveness goes a long way as far as being able to forgive others, really
Yeah.
forgive others.
Yeah. And another message is what you've done in the past is behind you.
Mhm.
What counts is what you do in the future.
Yes.
Make
Yes.
make each day. And when he says this, he said, the one thing that you will never know will be when is your final day on earth. You will
Yes.
never know your time of passing. So you need to make the most of every day, thinking that it may be your last.
Sure. I think I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That yeah, and
Yeah,
that
yeah, the book, the message, my messages of God book has some incredible stuff in it. Common sense, very, very simple. Because what he says is when he walked the earth, he spoke to the uneducated and the poor.
mhm.
And he said, I spoke very simply and spoke of common sense. Said, I never spoke in parables or difficult messages because no one could understand it.
Sure.
He
Mm-hmm.
said, that's all been added since his passing.
Right.
But
And that makes sense.
yeah.
Let me ask you, Barry, for my podcast listeners,
hmm
could you repeat again when you have your shows on YouTube? What's the schedule of those shows?
Sunday morning, we do a Sunday sermon at 8 o'clock Pacific.
Okay.
On Wednesdays, we do a weekly message from Jesus where we channel a real message from him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also at 8 o'clock Pacific on Wednesdays.
Okay. All
And
right.
and those are
Do-
the two main things we do.
Let me ask you, do you have can people ask questions? Do you have a chat, or is it just strictly you just
No,
channel
it's
the
just strictly
message?
a message. And I have
Okay.
no idea what we're going to talk about
Oh, you
ahead of
don't?
time.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I'll know. They'll tell me who is going to be on for Sunday.
Okay. Okay.
And for both shows, I just simply sit down, say who's speaking, and
Okay.
then deliver the message. And I have no idea what it's going to be.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just simply speaking their words.
The channel.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to find your book, what's your website?
BarryStrohm.com is probably the
Okay.
best place to go.
All right.
All the books are on Amazon, so you can get
Okay.
them there. But,
Okay. So if anybody wanted though to get one autographed, will you do that?
yeah, BarryStrohm.com.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
I'm trying to consolidate. As I'm turning older and older, I'm trying to get it more simple. So
Yeah, let me tell you, simplicity
mhm.
has its allure.
Oh
Barry, I
yeah,
want to thank you so much. It has been wonderful to speak to you. I'm still wigged out, like when you channeled. Honestly, it's like,
Mm.
Marlene, you're asking this, but do you really want to know? I was like, what if you hear something you don't want to hear?
Yeah, it's the old be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things that you think about. All the other stuff falls away to insignificance.
Yeah, really.
When you look at it for like, okay, I hope that we're gonna be around. But yeah, that's stuff like that. Yeah,
No, he's told us in our Wednesday messages. He said, I have spent hundreds of thousands of years developing humans. I do not want to see them fail.
Oh,
So that's
yeah, I know. But it's like,
mm,
fortunately,
eh,
there's a lot of them that is like,
oh,
if you're going over the precipice and it's like, well, I don't want to go, but you're gonna go anyway. But it is what it is. Kind of that.
it
Sometimes you get that feeling, but
it
hopefully
is what it is, indeed.
it is what it is. Again, thank you so much, Barry. It has been absolutely wonderful to speak to you, and I'm
Yes.
going to put a link to the credit in the credits of the show, so that people can get you on the website and also on YouTube.
Okay,
All
appreciate
right,
it. Yep.
and make that 11th book a long one. Like,
I'm writing
you
as
know.
fast as I can.
No, remember you just told me that thing about 11 books. No. Yeah, we're gonna do the War and Peace 3-part whatever series, whatever. So till next time, Barry, take care.
Okay, thank you so much for having me back.
Bye, Barry. Wow. For anybody that's asking for my loud, even though I have my phone on silent, I have an override for my family members. And that loud music is the theme from Johnny Quest. For anybody that, what the hell is that? Yeah, for people that have been around for a while, that is the theme from Johnny Quest. And I only have that ringtone for family members. Okay, so in other words, when I hear it, since it's loud and disturbing and obnoxious, I can hear it even if I've left my phone somewhere else. So, I got to find out what's going on. And, one of those things where, you know what? I'm not kidding you. Once I asked that question, I was like, oh, Marlene, do you really want to know the answer to what if he, I don't know. Honestly, I'm a positive person. And how's this? I always believe that there's enough humans living in this world that want to continue living for themselves, for their children, their grandchildren, even if they don't have children, just the people around them that they love, just because they love the earth or the humanity enough to not want it to end. And how's this? Not just the end of the world, we don't have to go that drastic, but that life on earth would not be a horrible existence. I'm gonna go into my conditioning of by Hollywood of dystopian futures, which I'm sure everybody can. There's a few movies that'll take you there right away. That it's not just existence, is what's the quality of our existence if God, something like that, a catastrophic thing like a nuclear war or use of nuclear. I think of that. And it's like sometimes, part of me thinks this it's almost like, what did the crazy people take over the asylum? Hello. What even if you don't wipe out life, what would life be like? When I mean life, I'm not talking a human life. I'm talking life in general, plant life, animal life. Let's face it. Earth, as in I'm an earthling, and the world and the earth and everything, we have our problems, but I love my planet. I love my life. I love all life forms on here, to be perfectly, even though with all our problems, our up and downs, and our things that we go through, the good things that we do, and the mistakes that we make, and blah 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 blah. And how's this? I, you know, I, in other words, nobody. I don't expect to live a perfect life as an existence, whether it's personally on my level or overall, where there would be no problem at all. Okay, like no ups and downs or no challenges. Um, you know, I've existed, this is my dog here that must at all, and it's not even thundering. She's got to be on my lap. But anyway, I've like living in South Florida, I weathered more than once, but a very bad hurricane, Andrew. So I know that there's things that happen that test you severely, different things. But there's always the hope, the expectation, the knowledge that, that it's going to be okay. We just got to figure it out or do better or work on it or whatever. I don't know. But not life ending or something that would damage the planet so severely that life would be horrible. And you know what? I know there's a lot of sci-fi people out there that think, wow. And it's like, let me tell you something. One thing is to look at a sci-fi movie of a dystopian future, okay, with whether it's over technology or, God knows there's a lot of stories based on, there's some type of war or some type of nuclear weapon. And then what's left is like a, devastated landscape. Let me tell you something. That's all great if you're just watching a movie. But existence, living like that would be horrible. And I don't want that for not myself, for any of us. So getting back to when I asked that question, it was like, as soon as it left my mouth, I was like, oh, Marlene. Okay, well, let's see. You asked, which was, I kind of got like an ambivalent answer, because the truth is, what is it? It's the roll of the dice. But I get back to my original premise. There's billions of humans running around on the earth that could want it one way or the other. And I'm going to bet that the billions of persons, of humans that are running around, do not want to go extinct, do not want to have plant life and animal life go extinct. Okay. But then none of that decision is within our power. It's almost like what the majority of most, and you know what? I think there is, how's this? I don't want to sound like hyperbolic, but I want to say in some cases, and I think this is what I was trying to come across to Barry, that I think that some people that have either the decision making or have some input, almost like a death cult. I don't know if it's what Barry said about they just think that this is it. Like once you die, that's it. So who really cares? But it's like there's no fear of not only am I ending my existence, but everybody else's. I mean, talk about the ultimate power trip. Or let's go down the road of, what would be, even if you had all this money and you lived in all these riches and you had what, what use would it be if you existed or lived in a devastated landscape because of some type of nuclear war? It's like, who would want to live in that? I don't care how much money you got. You're going to spend it on what? With whom? It's like sometimes I think of that and I'm like, I'm not the smartest person. I'm not the stupidest, but I'm not the smartest. But this is pretty obvious. Like, whoever is thinking of this type of things is like, you're going to do this and what is this, for superiority in whatever field? And the outcome will be what? Oh, nothing left? Oh, maybe contamination of water and the air and the land. Yeah, that's great. And living in an earth like that would be just dandy. Yeah. Yeah. So you could tell. I believe it or not, I live in a friendly universe, not in a hostile universe. And that's why I'm gonna interpret. I forgot what his name was. The alien's answer is that we're not gonna have nuclear war because I refuse to. I'm gonna go with the version like they've invested too much time and effort in us to let us somebody up a couple of dodo birds, or no, I haven't. That's being nice. I have few choice words to describe it. Would do something as horrific as that. Take us into war and something like nuclear war. That's let me tell you something. And by no means, I understand that humans, by their nature, sometimes are warlike. You have fights, like verbal, you have fist fights. And I know, I mean, we're not perfect. We're far from perfect. But like I said, even when Genghis Khan or Vikings or whoever was rolling into towns, or the Visigoths, and they were decimating everybody left, right, and right, there was never that danger that they were going to terminate the planet. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference. Yeah, we got to master some of maybe our warlike, um, how can I tell you, behavior. But this goes beyond our nature. I want to say that it's that want, or that, how's this disregard for engaging in something that could bring us to extinction is, like I said, it's like a death cult. It's like almost, I want to say, for lack of a better, it's non-human. It's not human, because all animals, humans and the rest, dogs, they all want to exist. They all want to live. And yes, there comes a point of the end of life. Trees die, animals die, we die. It's the cycle, but there's a difference between that cycle, okay, versus the annihilation of the whole life system. And it's almost, like I said, it's like it's almost non-human, because anything that's alive wants to keep on existing. I don't know. Anyway, let's get on to cheerful subjects, as in 2024 is going to be an interesting time. No kidding. But anyway, I have a lot of interesting guests coming on. Like Barry, like others. I'm going to put a link to Barry's website on the credits of the show if you need to check out his presentations on YouTube, or if you want to get any of his books. And like he said, they're also can be found on Amazon. And God knows there's a lot of, how can I say this? There's a lot of expectations and fears, but I want to hope for the best. And I do believe that what we give our attention to, as when I say we, as in humans collectively, the more of us, the better. When we put our attention towards positive things, towards positive outcomes, how's that? Then it's almost what will manifest, versus living in fear. And by this, I'm not saying that there's nothing to fear, but sometimes if you live in it, if you let it overcome you, and then all you exist is in a fear, then it's almost like it will manifest for you. Whereas, and if it's there, but you're like, nah, I'm not gonna. And by this, I'm not saying stick your head in the sand, but it's gonna be like, I'm going to hope. My hope will be that everything will be okay, And I can do what I can within my ability, whatever it is that you do, or whatever you're allowed to do within your who you are, what you do, and have that expectation of a good outcome. People can say, well, that's just hope. You'd be surprised. Okay. You'd be surprised. And I'm going to do a whole different show on, what, producing fear in humans will do to them. All right. Short term and long term. And so, yeah, hope for the best. Hope for the best. At least that's what I want to do. So, till next time, guys, thank you for being part of my audience. You are all wonderful. Like I said, don't forget, sign up for my newsletter on Substack. Okay, MiamiGhostChronicles.com, mpellicer.com, MarlenePardo.com. I've got links there to all the shows. You can sign up to my Substack articles, the newsletter. I've got a lot of interesting stuff, so don't forget and come back. Like I said, I have a lot of great people coming on. Till next time.